Hello, welcome to Easy English. So today, I'm on the beach and out to find out what the people of Brighton think of the monarchy. This is what Brits think of the royal family. Here we go.
I think the royal family they have a lot of secrets. I think sort of the royal facade needs to be broken down. I think people are really interested in finding out about what their life is really like and all of the things that people have hidden, like in the past.
I think the royal family is a great institution. I'm glad it's going to be slimmed down. I think it's too big, too cumbersome.
What is your general opinion of the royal family?
I think my opinion of the royal family have changed over the years. When I was younger, I'm from a Welsh background, obviously. I was kind of like always questioned about the kind of the value and worth of the royal family. But as I've grown older, and certainly the environment in which we live in now, when we talk about the environment, I think they're at the cutting edge of it, and I think they are leading.
Well, I think they're generally an anachronism, but as my life has progressed, I've gone from thinking they're sort of the devilish side of society, overprivileged, overeducated but in a very narrow band, to thinking that actually many people love that feeling of continuity in times of unprecedented, catastrophic, sometimes change.
Okay, so let's ask the question then. What are your thoughts, generally speaking, right now on the royal family?
I think they do a good job. I think this next generation will change things. I think they're going to be more modern. I think they're going to interact with the public in a more approachable way, not so aloof. I think it's quite exciting.
Yeah, what are your sort of general thoughts on the royal family as a whole, as the firm, if you want to?
I hate the word firm. I think it's a horrible way to describe them. I think they are the royal family. I'm very proud of them. I'm proud to be British. And I think they do an awful lot of good by just being there, holding the country together, particularly the Queen. And she's done the most wonderful job all these years that she's been on the throne, which is a long time. And they bring a huge amount of tourists into the country, which brings an awful lot of revenue into the country. And I think one of the things that people forget when they say, oh, well, of course, they own all these palaces and this, that, and the other, they actually belong to the nation, most of them. And they employ a vast amount of people.
If you want to improve your English through our episodes, then you could consider becoming an Easy English member through our Patreon. We offer reading, video and audio-based extras to help you follow along with all our episodes. You can get learning material for each one of our episodes, including a transcript to help you read along with the episode and a vocabulary list, providing you definitions for the more complicated vocabulary. And lastly, our new British slang worksheets, covering over the more colloquial and informal words used in each episode. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, very similar actually, very similar. I think Charles has probably been a sort of go-between between the old traditional royalty that's, as I say, stood aloof and was slightly remote, which I think, to be honest, the generation probably before ours enjoyed, because they sort of set them on a pedestal and they represented something quite iconic and different. Whereas I think as the generations have changed and the world has changed really, that sort of different hierarchical structure has become very much softened, and therefore the royalty has had to move towards the, dare we say it, the common man in a more acceptable way, really.
I mean, I think the royal family through the years has been like a lot of people are really interested in them, but there's a lot of like misconceptions about the royal family and like what they are actually like in real life. I think they're kind of glorified and their life is probably not as like sort of romanticised as what people think. It's probably quite hard to sort of keep themselves to themselves and actually do like their royal duties as people hope that they do.
But I think that Prince William and Kate are doing a great job at the moment.
Yeah.
And he's doing this Earthshot thing, which I think is a wonderful enterprise. And particularly as he's not just leaving it in the UK, he's taking the Earthshot around the world. And so I think the next one is the United States. So I think that's a very important time. So he's championing something. But the other thing I think about him is that he's thinking about the young people and their futures. He said at the time that he's concerned about his family, and he was able to take the concerns for his family to a greater audience, all the families that have young children, how nervous they are, how challenged they are by the future. So I think he's flagging up some real issues. So come on, William, give us some more. And the Queen is wonderful. We love Queenie.
Yeah.
We love her to bits. And she's served her nation with diligence throughout the years. She said she'd serve and she has served.
Wow.
There are a few wasters on the edges, but that's life.
Charles, I think, has started it in a very limited way, but I think he sort of not exactly broke the mould, but he certainly sort of started to put sort of steps out there to make some changes. Not always appreciated, as I'm sure we all realise, but in his own ways. And then, as I say, William and Kate have really picked up the mantle and gone on. I'm not sure whether Harry has probably gone a step too far, really. I think he's probably... I don't know what you think in terms of, you know...
I think he's feels free enough to say, I don't want to do this, I'm going to go do something
he's
else.
Not hidebound by the traditions that a younger sibling would have been perhaps historically, in the sense that the way Anne and Andrew were behind Charles, I suppose he's broken those boundaries, hasn't he? And said, well, you know, I'm not
opting out a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not going to be part of the firm, as it were.
The firm, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to, you know,
do my own thing.
Strike my...
And I don't think the Queen has had a lot of choices, really. I think she's been bound by protocol, and this is what you've got to do, and this is how you do it. And I just think this next generation will do it a little bit more their way.
Yeah.
Do you think we still need them? Are they still relevant? Do we benefit from having a royal family?
Well, only relevant, I think, as society has become more fractured and strange. And although they are strange, I think in an odd way, they represent some people. I do. And I would never have, 50, 60 years ago, if I'd had an opinion 60 years ago, I wouldn't have ever thought I'd hear that come out of my mouth.
Do you think we need a royal family still?
I would say not, but I think a lot of people really idolise them and see them as massive celebrities.
Yes.
So, don't know, difference of opinions, I guess.
Do you think there's positives and negatives to not having them?
Yeah, definitely. So the positives to not having the royal family, I think there's less sort of hierarchy in our society, but I think the negatives of not having them, a lot of people would feel like the past is kind of not carried into the present, and they'll feel like really sort of nostalgic about what used to be really important in our society.
Okay, so are you kind of summarising that we kind of keep them, but that we give them less sort of, we idolise them a little bit less, or give them less power in certain aspects?
Yeah, definitely, I think so.
Interesting, the point you were making a minute ago about, Harry kind of opting out and the Queen kind of maybe having to just take this all on.
Yeah.
Do we need them? Do you think we need the royal family anymore?
I think it's going to be. I think William and Kate will thin thin the royal family down, I think it's going to get thinner and thinner and thinner.
Yeah, in terms of sort of not exactly hangers-on, but historically it's been a lot of people, hasn't it?
Yeah.
The royal family has
Do
been
we
a
need
very.
them?
And we probably don't need all the
don't know.
Duke of Gloucesters and all that sort of lot. I think in terms of the core, I think they do. They are still very well respected around the world, and I think they do offer a balance in the community.
Well, no, all of them really. I think because they have shown the Queen has demonstrated her father's values. I mean, she did take on her father's values and has not changed very much.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of representative of her generation, very much the war years and all that. And then you've got her son, particularly Prince Charles, brought up in public school. If he's odd, well, that would account for it, I think. Not having a broad enough range of experiences as a child.
Yeah.
And then the younger royals, Prince William wasn't expected to marry a virgin, was able to establish a relationship, an adult relationship, before any commitment was made, and met his wife's family, who were, what they call them, trolley dollies on an airline.
Oh yeah,
They were,
yeah.
So I think the young royals might have a happier experience, and I hope they have a happier experience.
Can I ask then, because usually my next question to people is, do you think we still need them? And I think you say yes, because
Absolutely.
they say it keeps jobs, and they actually do bring
Huge amount of people in, a lot of revenue.
Yeah, but my next question for you then would be, as you think they are important to kind of Britain, do you think they're still relevant or they're still current with today's climate, today's society, today's culture?
Yes, I do. I think the Queen, being 95 now and not so well, has got to sort of, I'm sure she cares an awful lot, but she's not sort of quite out there at the moment. They've got to be careful with her. Charles has always been very conscious of being green and the future and climate change and everything else, and all his speeches attached to that, and his projects and things, and his, if one went to Highgrove, which I haven't done, but some of my family have, so it's wonderful. He's very caring about how things work and keeping wildlife going and all that sort of thing. And William, being next in line, as we know, has just done these various global, can't remember what it was called, but global something or other, and gave out these prizes to people who'd got initiatives into how to get power from the sea or whatever it was that they're doing. And I think he's highly motivated and hopefully, if he gets the chance, will be a very good king with a modern twist.
Thanks for watching this week's episode. Let us know in the comments below your thoughts on the British royal family and of your royal family, if you have them. And we'll see you next week. Bye. The what do they call it? Not the clan.
I don't know.
There's like a collective noun for them.
Oh, I know. Is it? They call themselves the Firm.
The Firm.
That's right.
You believe in the Firm.
That sounds very sinister, doesn't it?
Sounds like an East End London gang.
Yeah.